Okay, good morning. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Marla Billinghurst and I will be chairing the meeting this morning. To my far left is Ms. Susan Gifford and to my immediate left is Mr. Neil Harden. The assessor for the City of Winnipeg this morning is Mr. Matthew Barakis, and our secretary this morning is Ms. Cara Valshaw. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to these matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive your order by registered mail as soon as possible. And as information, all public hearings are recorded and will be part of the public record. The first matter on today's docket is 192 St. Anthony Avenue. So please come forward and have a seat.
And this was with the materials. I guess you hadn't collected the assessor's.
Oh, I did actually.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Would you like to swear in on the Bible? Okay, please state your name. Teresa Hall. Do you swear the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, I do. Thank you. Do you swear in? Please state your name. Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Assessor, please proceed when ready.
Okay. Roll number 11-000-5100000192 St. Anthony Avenue. 2020 roll year, April 1st, 18 reference date. Assessed value was $1,102,000. 1950, 22 suites. 11 outdoor parking spots, construction class D awards, building walls, we don't even have the age on the property. There's a request for burden of proof as per non-cooperation. If you go to page 2 of the brief, you'll see that this property has not been returning mailers to us, at least in the past 9 years. So if you go to page 8A, you'll see the tracking report for the registered income and expense that went out to them. The amounts that it was delivered and signed for, the bottom line there, June 8th. 2018. If you go to 8B, you'll see that the property, the appellant is the person on the address here where the registered mail was sent. So sent the letter. This is the second income and expense we sent out. We sent out one first. sure with a history of them being non-compliant. So as a result, I had no choice but to ask for non-compliance.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no. I thought you were asking me something.
No.
Okay, yes. Do you have any questions for the assessor?
Well, the question that I would have is basically why it was assessed at such a high value to 20% more than previous year in the first place.
Oh,
For it to be, what you're recommending to keep that value.
well, it's just I think we're just talking about the non-co-op now, right? And then we're
Yeah.
doing the value after.
Oh.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Any questions? No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Ms. Gifford, any questions?
No.
Mr. Harden?
Just one at the back of your document, saying on page 12, there seems to be an income and expense form filled up.
Yeah,
Where did that come from?
we were corresponding before this appeal. The applicant had contacted the department and wanted to speak about this, and then in talking with them, you'll see where the rec comes from, I needed the numbers. So she provided them, but we need them by deadlines, so we can calibrate our model. It's not just to hand it in whenever.
Yeah. Maybe just one, thank you.
Excuse me, Kara, I didn't get,
The assessor's brief?
right,
Sorry, there was an extra one here.
I did have, I got 3. Never mind.
That's this one.
what they're looking at,
There.
that's all I
That's
have.
the most current one.
Thank you.
Are you done your question?
I'm done.
Okay, so what was the date that you received?
Date it was received. If you go to 8A, tracking details, you see that at the bottom of the chart there is on that row. June 8th says delivered and was signed for.
No, the date you received the information on.
Oh, this information? Oh, that would have been probably like, well, probably 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3
Oh.
weeks ago. It was for this appeal.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Hoffman?
I can just present mine, okay.
Yeah, so we're speaking to the non-co-op, the non-cooperation.
Oh, okay. Well, the non-cooperation, the reason it wasn't sent in is I didn't receive last year's, I received this year's. And the date on the form to send it in, I misunderstood it, I think, is what I did, because it said to have it in by May, but I don't even have my figures ready by that time to be able to have sent in. But from speaking with Matt, or actually Brian Dupuis, previously, when I initially went to appeal the assessment, he mentioned that it's for the previous year's income before so I didn't understand any of that. That's why I thought, well, it's already past the due date by the time I would even be able to get it in, and then every year when it comes, the assessment comes before I even get my paperwork, and if it seems to be reasonable, then I wouldn't appeal it. But this year, it was 20% more than the actual previous year, and I didn't find any justification for that. So I questioned why it was 20%. And by the time I was able to speak with anybody at the taxation department, the date came up for the appeal to be, having to be, handed in, the application for appeal having to be handed in. So in the process of all of this, we were trying to communicate so that we could do as Brian suggested, agreement to revise, or,
Okay, well, we're talking about the non-cooperation, right? You'll have a chance to speak
Oh,
about.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
just the non-cooperation. So that's,
that's,
okay,
yes.
do you have questions?
I have any questions.
Ms. Gifford?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Mr. Harden?
Uh, Okay, just to be clear, the request was sent in 2018 and you did not respond at that time?
But that one I didn't receive, but I received this year's, and in response to this year's is when I spoke with Brian Dupuy at the board, or not the Board of Taxation Division, and he stated that, oh, it's the year prior income that you have to present, it's 2017, not 28. So all these years I've understood that it's the year that they're requesting that was just previous, but it's actually the previous year to that.
Okay, just for clarification then, the mailer
So
on
he-
page 8A of the city's brief has a signature on it. This is the one that was dated in June of 2018. Is that your signature on there?
No, it's not.
Do you know whose signature it would be?
I don't know whose signature that is actually, no.
Okay, in previous years, the city has said there's been no.
No, yes,
changes.
because I was explaining that when I receive it, they give a timeline of May, I believe, May. And my paperwork, or not paperwork, but the financial records aren't even available in May because I always understood that it would be the previous year that they're at, the current year that they're asking for, or the previous, whichever. Like for May 18, now I understand that it's May, it would be the 2016 year that's income that's required, correct? And May 19 was the 2017 year income that's required.
Correct.
No.
Okay, I have no more questions.
It's,
I do not have any questions.
Can I,
Oh, of course.
are you the owner of the building?
yes, I'm one of them.
Okay, and do you do the accounting? Obviously you do, if you said it wasn't ready. How long have you done the accounting, for as long as you've owned the building?
Well, no, I have an accountant that does the accounting. I do some of the administration of it.
So, the signature, would that be the accountant?
No, it would have been the mailing, our mailing address where our mail gets sent to, they would have probably signed for it.
Okay, so you have other reasons for, like, you have a central office where all of your mail goes to, you have other
Correct,
properties,
yes.
et cetera?
Yes.
And that's, okay, thank you.
If you turn to 8B then, is that the correct address, Suite 320322?
Where is it?
Yeah, the address on the bottom of that, is that the correct address?
Well, it's the correct address, but the way that the city's computer puts it is, it's, the way we write it is 03-212 Henderson Highway, Suite 322. And it's very hard to understand it when it's written this way. For some, we get some of our mail, and we don't get all of our mail. Because, and apparently it's the way the computer inputs it into the system, and there's no way of changing it.
Are there any other buildings within?
No.
This is just the one building?
That I have the property.
Sorry, I'm doing a sequence, sorry.
Okay, no more
No
questions.
more questions. Okay, no more questions. Okay, so I'm going to speak to,
So we got conscious.
oh, we're gonna, I don't forget to do that. Should we go out then? Or are they gonna-
They should.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you very much. We are reconvening the meeting. We have met and discussed this matter and decided that there was non-compliance. So the onus is reversed and the applicant will have to proceed first. However, in this matter, notice that there is a recommendation. Are you aware of the recommendation?
I'm sorry, what, a recommendation for?
The assessment to be reduced?
No, I'm aware of that, yes.
Okay, are you in agreement with the reduced number?
I'm in agreement with the reduced number, yes.
Okay, yeah, so if you want to just read it in then.
Okay, so, recommendations that the assessment be reduced to $1,459,000 to better reflect market value.
And you're in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
So I don't understand what you meant by the first decision that you made, that, or the own.
Well, if you were not in agreement with the number, then you would have to present your side of the case first instead of the city presenting.
No, I understand that, but what you said prior to that about the non-compliance.
Well, you were not in compliance. You did not send in your mailers since 2008. You had not been complying with your
Okay.
obligation to send in the mailers to the city of Winnipeg. You did not provide.
But you said,
So,
something you were reversing?
the reverse onus, normally the city presents their case first, so the penalty for non-compliance is a reverse onus that you would have to present your case first.
So,
But you, because you're in agreement with the recommendation that the city recommended a reduction, then we don't have to proceed with you presenting your case if you are agreeing to their recommendation.
Yes.
If you are not agreeing to the recommendation, then you can present
I see.
your case.
Okay, because basically I was here to say that, may I say this, at least, that we were trying, or the whole purpose of me appealing, or not purpose, but at the time with Mr. Dupuy in your office, was to do a revision by agreement, and then we wouldn't be,
Okay, but that's neither here nor there. And to this board, if it's something between you and the office, we're only hearing the matter before us right now, so.
okay. I just felt that, basically that the assessment, which is more accurate now,
Right, so
is
if you're
for
not in
this
agreement.
2020 year, correct, the roll year?
Yes, that's correct.
So it would be applied for this new 2020 roll.
It'll be a deferral of 1 year.
See, that's why I don't think that's fair, because it was such an excessive assessment initially.
Right. No,
Pardon me?
it can be, you can appeal it to the municipal board then.
That's an excessive amount to pay more than the previous year for an unjustified reason.
And then you should have filed your mailers.
Well, I did provide it.
Okay,
when
you know what,
it was
I'm
requested.
sorry, this matter is over, we can't discuss this anymore.
Wow.
The next matter on the docket is 1150 Monroe Avenue.
Seen you in a while, I forget, do you swear in or affirm?
Swear.
Please state your name. Do you swear the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
No, I've read the case a lot. It's the courts.
I didn't know that. Okay, sorry, let me just. 1150 Monroe Avenue. And Mr. Baracus, whenever you are ready, please proceed.
1150 Monroe, 020509491100. 2020 April 118 reference date, assessed value 33,440 rounded. It's an apartment, 6 stories, 7475 on the effective year bill. 252 suites, 312 outdoor parking spots, construction class C masonry during walls. Turn to page 2, you will see that they've been returning the mailers, no problem there. Page 3, that's our income value summary, model driven, using an average monthly rent, 1061, 45. Tax and liability is 20T, so there's a 2.6 vacancy in the 4652 expense ratio capped at 5 as per age and area in our model. Comes up with a rounded value 33,440. Rent comparables are on page 4. So we got 3 rent comparables. Our subject property is at the higher end of the rent comparables there, I noticed. So, taking a peek at the income and expense mailer, I noticed on page 5, that's where we're at right now, that looking at their most recent rent roll, 2017 December, their potential rents are a lot lower than what the model's assigning them. So I was able to have the time to do a 3-year look at the property. You'll note that 2017 is 11 months, but the income I was using was just from the most recent rent roll, which can be found starting on page 12. So, applied model vacancy to it, effective gross income of $3,023,856. And did some stabilization on the property. You'll see the notes on the right side. For many of them, 2016 figures were utilized just because it was the most recent full year. But other items, management, taxes, have been stabilized accordingly. Insurance appeared as though it was normal as well for 2017, so I used that. So I came out to a net operating income of $1,600,278, capped at 5, generated a reduced value, $32,005, actually $13,006 rounded. Now that's with R&M at $1,500 a unit. At R&M, sorry, that's with the R&M at $1,778 a unit, which seemed high. So with R&M at $1,500 a unit, which is typically at the higher end what we'd see, the stabilized value would be $33,407. We're at $33,439. So could we be a touch high? Possibly, not much though, depending on what level of R&M's thrown in there. But I wouldn't be opposed to $32,005, 006 rounded actually. So page 6 is our cap rates chart here. Page 6A are a sample of some actual sales that took place during the reference period. The purpose of showing these is just to illustrate the accuracy of the model. They're not to be comparable specific to the subject property. It was done by stabilizing the multi-year income. net operating income and sale price, come up with a cap rate. So the third column down shows our multifamily cap rates, which are the properties we're talking about today. Roach, Talbot, Maxwell, and Ward. There's Ward before, on this one we got Ward at 5. And then the older properties there, we have ranging from 403 to 484. Turn to page 8, you'll see the income and expense statement provided to us. Shows a repair and maintenance of 484 on the 11th month statement. So 484, 675. About 1,500 a unit. No breakdown on that one provided to us. So looks like we're pretty close on this property, so no changes were made. That's my notes, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have questions for the assessor?
So are you okay with your net income of 1,600,278?
Well, the R&M seems pretty high. I did that more to illustrate what a 1,500 a unit. I did it to contrast with what 1,500 a unit would look like.
But said you were comfortable with the 32 million value?
Well, you know, looking at it again, I wouldn't say so, because the maintenance and repairs are broken down. So I'm gonna stand on a 33,439.
RNOI is 1,636,902. Would you agree to RNOI and say this is a cap rate dispute?
You know, for the sake of splitting the difference there, I would, yeah, sure.
That's all the question. Oh, sorry, your cap rate comparables on page 6A, you don't have any backup on any of those?
Oh, no, not in terms of like financial breakdown or anything, no.
Are you aware whether any of those properties were bought with the intention to renovate?
I didn't inspect any of these properties, no.
Your evidence on page 6, the cap rate that you have for Colliers and CBRE. The Collier starts at 5 to 6, and yours starts 4 to 7.30. So would you agree that your low end of the cap rate is lower than the lowest Colliers and or CBRE?
Yeah, that's what it's showing.
And the property's built 1975, so would you agree that it would be not the top end for high rises? Actually, it's just mid-rise, 6 stories.
Yeah, it's not as new as they get.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gifford?
So yours, I'm getting confused here. The 33 million, what rental rate is that based on per unit on average?
Per unit.
That's not the 1,500, is it?
The 33, yeah, we have agreed on the net operating income on this property.
Okay.
We've used the one that Mr. DuPont's gonna.
So it's just a cap rate?
It's a cap rate.
So your cap rate, that is, that you're using, that's model driven?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question, thank you.
And then Mr. Harden?
No questions.
And I have no questions this time. Mr. DuPont? Can you proceed when you're ready?
Yeah, so the report in the front, you can look at the photo, page 1, the mid-rise. Then you have the locations and the map, etc. Now, page 7, we had the general ledgers, we have general ledgers for all of the properties managed by Globe General. And we showed 5 years, and we went to exercise of removing items that we believe to be capital expenditures and stabilizing, and most of them we stabilized at 5 years. And at the end, the far right, we stabilized at 416,828. The actual for 5 years, 453, and so with our adjustments for lower. And that's what shows on our page 8, line 27, 416,828. I did the same thing as Matthews. I took the December, far right, line 1. I took the December 2017 rent roll times 12. And, so we both worked from the December rent roll, we worked back down, and then at the end, he reached with our NOI. So we're down to cap rate. So if you're okay with that, I'll move to the cap rate. So if you want to look at our cap rate study. If you want to go to page 3, which is the summary of our cap rate comparables. The assessor does not have a different cap rate for high rises versus low rises, so that we do the same thing, so we don't give a premium to the fact that it's high rise, or in this case mid rise. So the property built in 1975, I believe. Yes, and so we have on the table at the far right, the average cap rate for 1964, 76, 6.17%. We have 5 sales in that regard. So we use 6% cap rate, which is supported by our cap rate comparables. Now the last 2 comparables, 333 Wards, 92 Beach, 100 Southview, those are newer properties. Year built is shown as 2006, 2014, 2014, so we have good data on new properties. And these were 5.13, 5.42, 5.59, 5.38. So that for this property, it gives you a reference for the high end, so it's 5.25. So with at the bottom, the cap rate that we give to properties are shown there. So the 1998 plus 5.25, then the 60 to 97, these 2 age groups is 6%. Now, page 4, we do show the Colliers also in the CBRE, and we show what cap rate they have for the previous assessment, the first quarter of 2016, and what they have for first quarter of 2018. And for Colliers, they were 5 to 6% for high rise. Now they're 5.25 to 6.25, so they went up a quarter. And then we have adjusted. We add 0.1%, and then there's a remark under the table that says that is that the Colliers calculates cap rates by including closing costs such as land transfer tax. And proof of that is in the 3 pro formas we have in our evidence, on page 25, 40, and 55. It's on low rise. They had 5.25 to 6, and now they're 5.25 to 6.25. So they added 0.25% to the top end. CBRE, they have the same cap rates first quarter 2016 as they do for first quarter 2018. So the cap rates for apartments either were the same or went up a quarter. Page 6 and 7, these is the actual workup for each of those cap and comparable. And then we have the financial data and the data we have on each of those properties, starting at page 24. So we show the photos and we show the source of information for each of those properties. That's my report on cap rates.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a couple.
Oh, and I also have rebuttal on his, so should I do that first?
How do you guys want to proceed on this one? It doesn't.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead with the rebuttal. You'll remember your questions?
I got them already down.
Okay.
Extra for the file.
Perfect.
Uh,
This is for all of your,
Okay.
Thanks.
So page 2, we show number 1, we say that the municipal board decision, we quote the order, second paragraph, the order 2018. With the 4 remaining comparable sufficient concerns were raised by the appellant, which was me, on 3 of them, 3 of the assessors, cap and comparables, regarding the purchaser's intention to significantly renovate or alter the structures. The appellant produced evidence from the purchasers which makes the board question the use of purchase price and income information. We were saying that those cap rates should not be allowed as evidence. And then if we go through the orders, you'll see that the board agreed with our cap rate. Sale number 1, it was purchased with intent to renovate. The purchaser said that in the questionnaire, which we have in the appendix. And the 2017 questionnaire shows relatively low rents of $663 for 1 bedroom. Number 3 is a 394 Talbot. It was purchased with intent to renovate. Then we have an email from Asteroid in the appendix again, property manager before and after the sale. The property was purchased with intent to renovate. 2016 questionnaire shows low rents of $537 and $653, and the recent website ad says totally renovated with rents of $800 to $900. So they raised the rents about $300 per suite. 25 Maxwell, purchased with intent to renovate, and we have an email from the purchaser, indicates purchase with intent to renovate. It confirms renovations of $413,000 and intention to raise rents over 3 years. Also includes a 2018 questionnaire, which actually states these renovations, kitchen and bathroom renovations right on the questionnaire. And 333 Ward, one of the assessors comparables, we have direct evidence on that at 5.13%. So we have supporting evidence, calculations, a full income approach on that, so that based on the different types of evidence, ours is fully supported and the assessor does not. So if you can look at the appendix itself, so page 4 is the municipal board order, 207 Watson. And I've underlined the parts. So page 6 is it says Rob Lucky presented the qualifications as the assessor, so he was the working for the city. But apartment buildings bought with the intent to renovate or tomorrow or renovate were included, so meaning he included those properties. On page 7, I appear on behalf of the appellant, and I stated the cap rate for should be determined from the existing income stream of any property purchased with intent to renovate or convert to combination not be considered. These purchases do not have to control motivations, and the cap rate is likely lower as it does not consider post-renovation income model for return to low investment. On page 9, they use those cap rates above the page. which matches at the top of page 5. The board agreed with our cap rate. Page 11 is the questionnaire on 191 Road, or sales verification questionnaire. Page 12 of that, question oh, there's the question. Question 16, page 11. Did you or do you intend to make major repairs and renovations to the property? It says yes. And it says suite upgrade, 100,000. And the question before, 15, what was your overall condition fair? And then we have the part of the questionnaires where we compare the rents, which is part of our major evidence. Page 17, the other property, the ad in the Portalda shows that it's totally renovated, and the rents are asking 800 and 900. Page 17 is the email from Ackman on 285 Maxwell, saying the intent to renovate, and it was actually 413. And page 19 shows the 2018 questionnaire, but it does show the 413,000 renovations. So that's my rebuttal.
Thank you. All right, questions?
Yeah. So we were just on page 12 there, under rebuttal. And line 32 says, what is the purchase price based on the property's net operating income? And he checked off yes.
You, did you say the word you? Or the
12.
The owner?
Was the purchase price based on the property's net operating income? The owner indicated yes. And then he used a 5% cap rate on the property. He said he purchased it for the net operating income despite the renovations. Would that not qualify those figures for the calculation of cap?
That's an opinion, a value, which is not supported. It's a third-party opinion, and it's not prime evidence. And it's a nice round figure, so the purchaser will say, oh, I'll pay around 5 for it. It's not a proper way to get a cap rate.
Going to page 9 of your rebuttal. There's in the biggest paragraph, which is the second one down, that's underlined. In regards to, this is under analysis and decision, this is the board talking here. With 4 remaining comparables, sufficient concerns were raised by the appellant on 3 of them regarding the purchaser's intention to significantly renovate. Produce evidence, making the board question the purchase price and income information. It's indicated by the board that the board does not accept that any intention to renovate should disqualify the property's sale. It should be significant financial investment and cause future rents to substantially increase, and should usually involve modification of building envelope or realignment of structural walls. Have building envelope or structural wall realignment been, is that something that's taken place in any of these, any of the correspondence that you got back from these properties?
Not specifically like that, but it did have significant financial investment on the property owner to renovate. And this should usually involve changing the building envelope or realigning structural walls. It's not one of the only reasons. The principle is that the purchaser is not relying on the existing income stream. So the board disregarded all of the assessor's comparables, and I can go and look to them, and none of them had to redo the building envelope in those particular cases or realign the structural walls. That's kind of a strange thing they added there.
Okay. Okay, so for the rebuttal, I'm done. But now this is actual
Yeah.
cap rate. So I have some rebuttal for his. Is this one I handed out?
Sure.
Okay. And it's for, just in regards to, and then there's this one. This is his cap rate stuff.
Thank you.
So, what I just handed out were the income questionnaires for two of the properties on the Altus cap rate study. First one is 210 St. Mary's. As Altus indicated, a cap rate of 6 1/4. And then if you go to the last page, they did indicate that the purchase price on point 32 was based on the property's net operating income. And the cap rate they used was 5%, which is 5.5, pardon me, which is 3/4 of a point lower. And on Beach as well, if you go to the second last page, line 32, it was indicated that it was based on the property's net operating income, and then the cap rate the purchaser used was 4.5 on it. So this is just simply what the actual purchasers were using and thinking when they were coming up with their valuation for those properties. That's my rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. Did you have questions?
Well, I mean, he doesn't have a chance to.
Yeah, I
ask.
just didn't kind of.
Did you have a rebuttal from another property? You want to finish with that too?
Oh, okay, can we go through the whole cap thing and then, okay, so, one thing I noticed with the cap rate is that the R&Ms, they range from $405 a unit to $1,072 a unit. Are these typical R&M per unit that an investor would expect to put into the property on a yearly basis over the long term?
I stabilize my cap rates on a site-specific basis, which is the same ways I do for all properties that come in front of the board. If they're low, I use low. If they're high, I use high. For medium, I use medium. I go site-specific on all properties. And usually if you have high repair minutes, you have high rents. So that the two usually match.
So you would say these R&M, do they represent high R&Ms, low R&Ms, or average R&Ms? Just on the whole. I know you say you do it as it's reported, but do these seem high to you, low to you, based on your experience?
It depends. It matches the rent, so, and or the age. If you have a new property, like the Beach and the Saltview, those would have low repair maintenance. And when I come in front of the board and they're $500 a suite, which is low, but if they're new properties and they're spending $300 to $500 per suite, that's what we use. So that for something matching a property's rent and age, etc., they vary, so that really no high nor low. It's what they are site specific, and the reason they have a certain level is because of the very specific situation.
Okay, so basically like lower our number unit could mean that they are getting lower rents?
Yes. We have that all the time here, is that we have some properties that are 500 to 1,000 a suite, and we don't bump them up to 1,200, 1,500. We use what is site specific, we don't bump up repair maintenance. And they usually have the lower rent, so we look at the rents, and we look at the repair maintenance. We don't change the rents, and we don't change the repair maintenance. The assessor may have market rents for all properties, but the amount of renovations and or condition of each property will vary tremendously. So therefore, you should go with whatever a property has in its physical condition and what they can get on the market for their rent and what they actually spend on the repair and maintenance.
Do these properties with lower R&Ms, could there be an element of deferred maintenance involved with them potentially? For suite, not keeping up?
They could, I mean, it matches their, the rents match their level of repair maintenance. And properties that spend 1,500 to 2,500 per suite will have much higher rents. And if you have a high rise at 1,500 per suite, over $1,000 rent, you need that $15 a suite to maintain those rents.
Okay. So these ones with lower R&Ms and lower rents, do you think they'd be a good candidate for renovation?
They may or may not be. We cannot value all properties as if they were going to renovate and accept some low cap rates out there in the market. That was brought to the municipal board with the 207 in Watson. We just can't value all properties with low cap rates for properties that were bought with intention to purchase.
Do you think it's possible that, leading up to the years that the vendor would be looking to sell the property, that they would be spending less on the property on a repair and maintenance basis than what someone buying it would assume they'd have to put into it to keep it going, because they're not issues that they'd have to deal with on a long-term basis going in the future? Like, they don't spend, like, say it's selling in 2000, like, say 3 years prior, they don't spend as much because they know it's going to be out of their hands. Is that a situation you think could be probable?
You're trying to get in the mind of some purchasers maybe manipulating the market because they intend to sell. I don't think we can put that in there and no. It's probably the reverse. If they intend to sell, they will try to make it look nice because the purchaser will inspect the suites. So they may, in fact, repaint everything and put new carpets in to make it look better. I've seen that happen.
Those are my questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gifford?
No, no questions, thank you.
Mr. Harden?
No questions that I haven't been rehashed 3 times this week.
And I have no questions. So, of course, okay, we're gonna take a short break. Okay, we are reconvening the meeting. The next matter on the docket is 25 Ivy Bridge Gate.
Okay, roll number 04-007-254-685, 25 Ivy Bridge Gate. Roll year 2020, April 1st, 2018, assessed value $25,209 rounded. It's an apartment, 4 stories, built 2006, 131 suites, 192 outdoor parking spots. Being that it's brand new, there's another great request for, we didn't request any information, so I don't have any information prior to this reference date, because I myself didn't even get out there until, I actually inspected the place like 3 days before the reference date. That was the one for this one. Subject sale industry, that would not be the completed property. Income value summary, here on page 3. Shows 21 bedroom, 103 2-bedroom, 131 total, average monthly rent. So number of the model is 135421. Vacancy rate, 3%, as per the market. For the effective, which calculates an effective gross income of $2,064,953. Model expense ratio here, 38.6, with the 5% cap rate, gives us our value. Rent comparables are on page 4. Let's see here. They are on the north part of the city. Comparable 3 is a commercial row house, so I would not consider that something I would put any weight on. This is 3-bedroom units, so if you could just strike that one out, and talk to it. The other 3 properties, they are higher than the property and average monthly rent per unit. I was looking more closely at the comparables in this regard, or as rather the actuals in this regard, given that it's brand new. So we'll carry on. Page 5 is our cap rate chart, and 5A is our cap rate sample that we've talked about. So starting on page 7 and going to, page 13, I did a calculation. So this was the rent roll at the time I inspected it. So at the time I inspected, there was 117 units of the 131 total that were occupied as per the reference dates. Leasing up began in October 2016. So as of the end of March 2018, which is what we're looking at here, I believe that calculates to an 11% vacancy rate. They're still leasing up. It's, this is not a small number of suites, and it takes time to get people in there, contracts signed. So based on the rent roll that I had, I just took it and I calculated the average rent. They're in writing at $1,339.57 per unit. Now, there's a promo on the property. When I looked it up, so actually, outdoor parking is $55 a month, as per the information that I pulled up. So there's no parking amounts I added to this. So if you added $55 a month onto $1,339, that's $1,394. Where it says parking is $55 a month is on the back of page 21, under features. So that would bring our rent, which is what drives the potential gross income higher than what the model is assigning, by about $40. So I didn't make a change there. The expense ratio is modeled in the new building. We don't have any information on it yet. So that wasn't changed in cap, was just by each area. That's my evidence. There's pictures of the place, page 14 and onward, if you want to see what it looks like on the inside. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have questions?
Where did you get this $55 a month for parking?
Oh, page 21. Go to page 21, and you go to the back side, it's on the back end there, under features. About 2/3 of the way down, it says outdoor parking available, $55 a month. So it looks like they have a promo along with some like free month for some to incentivize lease up.
And page 20, on top it says free parking spot for 1 year, for the first year.
Yes.
And so none of your rent rolls show any parking, like your page 13, et cetera?
No, they do not.
So that they don't show parking income at all?
I don't see a column for parking.
So then your total, page 13. You don't show potential rents for the vacant suite, is that correct?
Let me go through this. No, they don't. I didn't have that information, so that figure, if you're looking at the vacant, factoring in that missing piece, my rent would be a little bit different.
Right, so you have the suite count on page 13 at the bottom, 117.
That's, yeah, you're right, yeah.
And then you assume the average rent applies to the remaining vacant units.
That's all I had to work with.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you. Ms. Gifford?
Do you have any other questions? No.
Mr. Harden?
No questions.
I have no questions.
You said your questions?
Sorry, I have no questions.
Oh,
No,
you.
sorry,
Okay. So I can present, okay.
please.
Page 1 is the photo, our values for the suite mix, et cetera. Page 2 is the aerial photo. T shows the map, which where it is. Right behind Club Region Casino. That could be a good place for certain people. Now, page 6, our cap rate, we go 5.25, and I don't want to go through the cap rate again, but we do have 3 properties that are newer, and that supports the 5.25 cap rate. So that's one of our biggest differences. On page 7, so we show a partial year for 2017, so they had only $1.2 million in income, and the camp line expenses only partial year. So line 32, we will accept the assessor's 39% expense ratio. So then to start, we agree, we have a slight disagreement on the potential rent. The assessor's got $13.54 per suite, we have $13.34. Then we use 5% vacancy, the assessor uses 3%. So, and then at the bottom we have 5.25 cap rate. So I'll let you go through the evidence. Now, page 12 is these partial statements for the year ending 2018. As you can see, it has $1.254 million in income. On page 13 is the start with the rent roll, which I believe Matthew is the same as it. But it doesn't show the vacant unit. So we asked and received the rent roll on page 20. That shows all the units. Nice little spreadsheet, and then it shows the vacant units. At the bottom, number 219 is 1302 for that particular vacant unit. Page 21 shows a whole bunch of other vacant units, but we have the rents for all units, including the vacant one, and then top of page 20 says December 2017 rent roll. And so bottom of page 22 has a total potential rent, 174,811. When you multiply by 12, you will get our result that we have on our page 7, I believe. That's where we got a figure. And then there's 19 units vacant, which is 15%. So the back of page 7. So our rent is based on that December 2017 rent roll, which includes the vacant suites. And the actual vacancy, 14.5%. We know it's in a rent-up period, and they will eventually get to a normal vacancy, but anybody buying at the time will be facing 14.5% vacancy. So they will have some kind of discount to give effect to the fact that it has a high vacancy at the time of purchase. So that we should recognize some of the vacancy problems, so therefore we don't go with the actual vacancy, 14.5, but we don't accept the 10%, so we go 5% vacancy. And that's our report.
Thank you.
Okay. On page 7, we're at 3% vacancy. You assigned 5, and so you said there was 15% at the end of 2017. So the reference date we're looking at is April 2018, and there's about 11% vacancy 4 months later. You still feel it should be 5%?
We should allow for higher than normal vacancy, so I believe I would still use the 5%.
You don't think that an investor who thinks it's a pretty expensive property at $25 million, buying this on a long-term basis, would see that, given that it's dropping close to market, as per the reference date, they wouldn't just go with market?
No, I don't think so. If you're buying a property with a vacancy at the time of purchase, you would make an adjustment for that. You would not just say, oh, it doesn't matter. It does matter.
So parking, was there any parking included in the calculation of your potential gross rents?
No, it's free parking, and they may or may not charge parking a year from now.
Okay. Given that my evidence show that they would charge parking, would you make an adjustment to your potential gross rents?
No, we don't know whether they would charge parking or not, so it's not something I would add.
Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gifford.
No, I have no questions.
Mr. Harden.
No questions.
I have no questions. I'm gonna grab water for one second. Okay, the next matter is 415 Edison Avenue. Please proceed when you're ready.
Okay, 415 Edison, 0400338000. Apartment, 22,227,1969 suites. It's got indoor parking, 166 spots, 5 outdoor parking spots. April 1st, 2018 value. Construction class C, with bearing walls. Located at the corner of Rothesay and Edison. They've handed the mailers, they've been good with that on page 2. So page 3, that's our model workup. We have an average rent of $969.62. Gross potential rent is calculated that way with modeled vacancy. And expense ratios with a 5.3% cap rate generates our value of 22,227 rounded. Rent comparables are on page 4. They all have a high number of units as the subject. Various heights. Subject is 10 stories. We've got 2 6-story buildings, a 7-story building, and a 13-story building. Average monthly rents range from $970 to $1063. We're at $969, pardon me. Page 5, so this one looks like I just did 1 year and did a quick glance at it to see how it was behaving in regards to our model. So this is all taken from the mailer that was submitted to me to the department on page 9. So suite R&M, building R&M, labor R&M, they had divided up. So that came out to 1541, I believe. Looking back at this one. Double check. Yeah, in the building repairs and maintenance, there was some waste and snow that I should have separated out, but it is included in that figure there, so it's not missing, but it is included in that figure, so that figure would be a bit lower had I separated it out. So anyway, it was calculated using our 5.3% cap rate, using that 1 year NOI. Over a greater horizon would have been better, but I think I just ran out of time on this one. So that came up with a model with an calculated NOI of $1,229,531. The model NOI is lower. I'm not seeking an increase on this one. We're close, so that's my evidence. Thank you.
Mr. Dupont, do you have questions?
No, I would question your page 5. Now, your, the suite R&M, building R&M, labor R&M, which is 291,237, and ours is 313,000, so that's our main difference, I believe. So it's 14 plus 9, so 23,000. Did you adjust any of those repair and maintenance items?
Oh, yeah, there was, if you look, the mailer starts on page 9, and there is, they have a section for capital expenses. There should be an X beside, I didn't include any of those in the calculations. There's the headings for suite R&M, building repair and maintenance, and labor repair and maintenance, and those are the figures I included.
Is this a 3-year average, or
Oh, no, this is just the 1 year.
just the 1 year? Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's just the 1 year.
Okay, I got it, so 1 year old. So would you agree that repair and maintenance is quite erratic, that normal, if we go site-specific, municipal board would be 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, the longer horizon would have been more accurate.
That's all questions?
Thank you. Ms. Gifford?
No questions.
Mr. Harden?
No questions.
I have no questions. Please proceed.
So, have a quick look at the photo, page 1. The large apartment, which you've probably seen many times. So this is 1969, so it's an older type high-rise. Page 2 is the aerial photo. Rothsey, Edison, Mark Loden. The map on the map, the Google map, page 3. On page 6 are cap rates, a property built 1969, so you would get a 6% cap rate. We should maybe just go through the appendix quickly. So page 11, to start with 2017. We show the items that repair maintenance. And you can see page 12, we've excluded also with capital expense building. Actually, we exclude all of the items, whereas Matthew only excluded certain parts. Now the 2016 starts on page 15, and on page 16 we excluded all of the capital expense again, 176,000. Starts on page 19. Page 20, we've excluded the capital expense building that they have at 23,000, which are not large, but we still excluded it. Now, perhaps if we spent more time and looked at each individual item and look at how much they spent per year, etc., maybe some of those items will be allowed. We revisited this in the future. But for now, we've excluded what they call capital expenditures. Page 24, we excluded the capital building facade. That we've excluded the building envelope of 258,000, so that's probably excluded. And the 2013. We've excluded the Simulan 180 on page 30 for the facade. They spent a lot of money on their exterior. So back to our page 7. We stabilized line 13 at 2,227,000 and the assessors at 2,229,000. Over 2,000 apart, and I believe the difference is in the line 12 miscellaneous. So in 2017 was 6277, and prior years was 38, 37, etc. So as a normal protocol, we use a 3-year average for miscellaneous income, because that is the type of income that can be erratic. So for miscellaneous income or miscellaneous expenses, the line 17 is sundry. It's usually a default. We use 3-year average. So we're 2,000 apart, and that's mainly because of we're using 3-year average. I've checked everything that Matthew has done on his page 5, and I agree pretty much with everything he's done, or we're in agreement. Except for repair maintenance. Now if you look line 27, the repair maintenance is 292, 327, 329, 342, and 277. So the 2017 is the lowest year. I don't think it'd be proper to use that year alone. The 3-year average is 316. We use a 5-year average, which is 313,988, which is 1661 per suite. And I believe the 5-year average is the standard when we have large properties like that, and we do have the history that we should use it. Another remarks, we have the CapEx, the items that we have disallowed. That would be our value. We divide by the 6% cap rate, and the assessor is 5.3, so the cap rate's a big difference. Now our NOI, is actually higher than the assessor. So in the end, we're pretty much similar, so it comes off the cap rate. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brookings?
Plus, it's mostly a cap rate issue. I'm just thinking there's something I just forgot to ask on the property. There's a property on Mighton on page 8 of your cap rates report. It was renovated, and it's got one line for the calculation to use the cap rate, and it's RVA. I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, it's our valuation department, so it's our appraisal department.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't based on like actual figures that they submitted or anything?
Well, RVE does appraisal, and they get a whole bunch of data from whatever source they need to get to make their appraisal. So we got it from the appraisal.
Okay. We've talked about caps, so it's a cap issue, was my question.
Thank you. Ms. Gifford? Any questions?
No.
Sorry, Mr. Harden?
No.
I have no questions. Okay, the next matter is 424 Keelyside Street.
Okay, 02051147100424 Keelyside. Assessed value $10,190,000. It's an apartment built in '77 with 112 seats, 128 outdoor parking spots. Go to page 2. You'll see that they've been good. And page 3, it's a modeled evaluation. We use model parameters on this with a 5% cap as per age and area. To generate our estimated market value of $10,190,000. Page 4, you'll see our comparables in the area. Moncton, Gray, and Monroe. They bracket the subject property in terms of average monthly rent. They're built around the same time. Difference is 424 Keelyside does have 3-bedroom units. The other 3 comparables do not. So I had time to do a breakdown of this one on page 5. Took the potential gross income as reported on their income and expense statements that were submitted. And those can be viewed on pages 8 and 12, just for the overall breakdown. So you'll see that vacancy, I took the newest rent, you can see the vacancy in red. Looks like this property is doing well. They have very low vacancy, long-term tenants potentially. I would hypothesize, I still used model vacancy on this. So looking at the rent, including the parking, came up with our effective gross income on the calculation. Another thing that stood out to me was the RM, looked high, 275, 869. Take that, divide that by 112. Oops, I hit 111. 168. All right, 275, 869 divided by 112. That's 2463. That's quite high. That's much higher than we're used to seeing. That's several times higher than any of the properties in the Altus cap rate study. So what I used was 1,500 a unit on this one to come up with a hypothesis. I used the most recent taxes I averaged when I need to be 5% on the management. Came up with a 523 expense total, and net operating income of 575. So it looks like it's performing a little better than what the model is. I haven't been seeking an increase on this one. It does look like we are close model to Mr. DuPont's valuation in the net operating income. So without going over it too much, it does look like it is a cap rate issue. That's my evidence, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DuPont, two questions.
Your page 5, I agree with virtually everything you did there except for the repair and maintenance. Now, this property is the wood frame building, garden type apartment. Would you say this type of property requires more repair and maintenance than a masonry building?
And like a masonry high-rise, yeah.
And then they're all 2 stories, so they have a lot more roof than you would for if you had a high rise.
Yeah, much more.
And it appears on the photo that we have solid wood exteriors, even the side walls, etc.
Yeah, that's correct.
So there would be a lot of painting there, and same as their stairways, they have wood stairways on the outside.
Yeah, much more upkeep than if they were synthetic vinyl material.
So where did you get your 1,500 a suite for repair and maintenance?
Well, it's typically what we see more at the top end. I was looking at the 3-year here, and then all 3 years looked much higher than what the top end would look. In the absence of any sort of interior pictures, maybe there could have been some capital involved in that. So, still taking into account that it is wood frame, I knew that it still could be at the high end, so I felt running a test at 15 a unit on the high end would give me an idea.
All questions?
Thank you. Ms. Gifford?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Hardin?
No questions.
I have no questions either.
Look at page 1 of my report, photo. Shows all the wood exterior that it has and the painting and well, the wood stairs, you need replacing those steps and the bell pads, et cetera. A lot more sidewalks, et cetera. The landscaping costs more to maintain. Page 2, you can see the photo, multi-building property. Lots of sidewalks, landscaping, and parking that you have to maintain. So these are the type of properties the most intensive for repair and maintenance. Page 3 shows the area that it's in, the North Walden area. Financial statements, you can see the, page 11 gives you the financial statements. It shows the rental, vacancy loss, you calculate for us. Maintenance, you don't give a breakdown, so it's, we have to look at the long-term history. Page 7, I believe, is our banking report. So the, Matthew, we did the income approach instead of 1273 for line 13, he's down to 1098, so he's reduced the net income, the effective gross income, sorry. And he's slightly less than what I am at the 1,101,000. It's only 3,000 difference, so it's not a big deal. But his reworking shows that the disagrees with the original assessment, the income original assessment. Now, for expenses, the stabilization, I believe Matthew is pretty much similar to what I have done. So I check and I virtually agree with everything he's done, except for repair maintenance. So line 27, repair maintenance. So we have 5 years, 141, 255, 260, 262, 305. 3-year average is 275. We should take that into consideration, so that's the most current 3 years. Nevertheless, we stabilize at the 5-year average, which brings the average down to 244, 906. Other remarks, you'll see that in 2011 and 2012, so we brought in 2 more years, they were 185 and 236, so we have a long-term history. So now the 7-year average is 235,000, 2,100 per suite. So I believe we should be very site-specific on this property. We should certainly not use the figure pull out of the year, 1,500 per suite. So I believe on this, the repair minutes that we've done is very reasonable and it should be acceptable to the assessor. And in the end, our NOI is 500,000, which is slightly less than the original assessment, 509. Now, Matthew is much higher, that's 575, but he's reworked the figures, but that's mainly because he used very low repair maintenance. So then cap rate is our biggest difference. Except for the repair and maintenance, I believe that would be the biggest difference, and we have 6%. It's 1977 with frame apartment. If you buy something like that as a purchaser, you know that you're gonna have a lot more maintenance than doing the masonry high-rise, which would be much more reliable in the future. So I've not adjusted higher for the extra risk for having a garden type apartment, wood frame, wood exteriors. So the 6% cap rate we use on this I think to be reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Do they indicate any capital expenses? Like, if they were to do like the big roofs, was that wasn't broken down anywhere, was it?
No, they don't have a breakdown for reframing.
Okay. So he says it should be taken on like really site-specific basis. I noticed something on page 7, line 5. This place is really low vacancy. Is there a waiting list to get in?
No idea.
If we're looking at it like as a really site-specific basis, and if the investor was, I think they would consider that there's almost no vacancy on this property.
Well, it would be part of considerations, and naturally vacancy is always part of consideration, but we use a market vacancy, we agree to your vacancy rate, and I don't think it hurts you would buy, but 0.2% vacancy going forward, if you're buying the future income stream. So purchaser would use a market vacancy, a property like this. But low vacancy properties, we always use a market vacancy.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gifford?
No, no questions.
Mr. Harden?
No questions.
No questions? Okay, the next matter is 6608 Hannett Road.
Okay, 660 Hannah Road. 20,024,000 on the April 1st, 2018. It's an apartment.
Please read in the roll number.
Okay, 0205099100. It's an apartment, 73 to 74, on the effective year built. 180 suites, 195 outdoor parking spots, is located Penn and Kingsley side, near the grocery stores. Masonry bearing walls, construction class C. Page 2 shows they've submitted the mailers to us nicely. Our income value summary about the model is on page 3. Sign 994 or 75 model parameters we use, including 5.3 cap to come up with the estimated market value. Comps, page 4, lots of comps. We've got 994. There's 4 columns here, Moncton, 2 on Moncton, 1 on Watt, 1 on Monroe. These buildings are smaller, 1 and 2 bedroom units, yes. In terms of the years built, they do bracket it, but there is a wide range. They are average monthly rent lower per unit than what the model's assigning. So can I have time on this one? Push through here. Page 5. I did, again, breakdown, stabilize, model, vacancy. Looking at their actual vacancy is quite similar. Come up to the effective gross income of 1927, 728 on the potential side. You'll notice that the model 21, 480, 660. So the model is overstating what the actuals are. Continuing down, the expenses stabilized. Normally, the R&M on this unit was just taken from the 3-year average, 1352, which makes sense. So, calculated through revised expenses, overall the net operating income is $970,342. We're getting ahead, we're very close on this one. We're within about $7,000 of each other. And because there is such difference in value from our model net operating income to what I've calculated, I believe it's appropriate to recommend, based on our cap rate of 5.3 with my calculation, 18,308,000 rounded. The mailers and the cap rate information is found in the following pages where the information was taken from. So I'm making a recommendation for 18,308,000 rounded. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. DePine.
Your vacancy, you show on page 5.
Yep.
So they raised the rent, they've been raising the rent from 2015, 16, 17, beyond the rent guidelines, I believe. So, and the actual vacancy is 2.84. You did not recognize the actual vacancy, and why did you not do so?
I just took the average. Oh, I looked at the average being 2. So 2017, 2.8, the average 2, the model's 2.6, still closer to the most recent year. I want 2.6.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you, Ms. Gifford.
What was the average rent per unit you used on your,
On my breakdown,
no, on the stabilized?
oh, on the stabilized? Okay, so that would be what they reported. So I'm just taking that figure from stabilized, so 1951,000 divided by, oh, I guess it's 180. Divided by 12. That's 903. And there's also just laundry, there's parking. I took the information right off their statements.
And that was at 903?
903 average.
Wait, and then on the summary, you're using 994. on the stabilized one, you're using 9.
Well, on the summary on page 3, that's what is model generated.
Okay.
So we're off by a meaningful amount, and as a result, it's overstating the assessment, so it's appropriate to make a reduction in this instance.
Okay. You said 903, right, on your stabilized?
That's just, yeah, dividing it by the units and dividing by 12.
Okay, thank you.
Speaker, do you have any further questions?
No, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Sorry, Mr. Harden, do you have a question?
No questions.
I have no questions. Mr. Dupuy?
So you got the photo page 1,
Excuse me.
page 3, building, if you look at page 2, also is a multi-building site, so they have 6 apartments. They're built 1973, so it's older. They're all low rise, so they're all 2-story walk-ups. Page 3 shows where the map, where it is on the map, so it's near the Ridge Corner Shopping Center. Across the street from that. Now page 7. You'll see line 1, the potential rents, we go back to 2013, which is the year ending March 2014. The rents were $1.5 million, increased to $1.7 million the next year, 200,000 rent increase, which is quite high, and 1,858, some more rent increase. And then they kind of slowed down the rent increase to 1,907 to 1,951. But they do have a 2.8% vacancy, actual 2017, mainly because of the rent increase and the market is pushing back. So I believe we should be using the vacancy, actual vacancy for 2017, which is 2.8%. And that's our main difference with the assessor's site-specific workup that he's done on his page 5. We're very close in repair and maintenance. At the NOI, line 33, we're 964, and his revised is 970, 342. So our difference in NOI is 5471. Our difference in vacancy is 4596, so basically it's in the vacancy. So there's minor difference in NOI, and then the big difference again is in the cap rate, where 6%, the assessors are 5.3. Under remarks at the bottom, this is renovated in the year ending March 2014. They spent $2 million. We've excluded that from repair maintenance, and the rents increase the next 2 years. We excluded from the kids from 2015 kitchen and bath for the years, 612,000. For the financial statements that they have, is page 11. They filled out the questionnaires the way the assessor asked. On page 12, they did put what they consider to be capital cost summary. Not everybody does that, but this kind has done that for each of the years. It's page 15 for the 2017, ending March 2017. Shows some of the items that they disallowed. Now, page 15 did disallow washing machine, and we put it back as part of repair maintenance, because that's usually an item that's allowed repair maintenance. So that we have very little difference in repair maintenance. So the whole thing is the vacancy and the cap rate. So that's my report.
Thank you very much.
We're so close in NOI, and we've talked about cap, so those questions and comments just roll, so I have no more to say on this one.
Thank you. Ms. Gifford?
No.
No, no questions on this either. I'm going to ask that we take a short break. Okay, we are reconvening the meeting and I can breathe again, so this is good. The next matter is 1301 Rothsay Street. Please proceed when you are ready.
Okay, 04 000 33 7500 1301 Rothsay, assessed value 16 million 250. Parcel use code Res Ave, 2 buildings, 6 stories, 1960, 150 suites, 132 indoor apartment spots. Page 2 shows the mailer history, very good most of the time, handing stuff in. Page 3 is our income value summary. 85 one bedroom, 52 bedroom, average monthly rent 968.75. Model parameters were used with the 5.3 cap to calculate the estimated market rounded value of 60,250. Rent comps are on page 4. Rental comps were taken from buildings in the area. Building 1 and building 3 are larger. The subject is a larger building in terms of number of units, but it's still 3 times larger than the newest ones here. Average monthly rent per unit, brackets of subject property. Subject property does have some bachelors, 3 to 4 properties, since comparables have bachelor units as well. The effective units bracket the subject property. Page 5 is the subject income and expense analysis. So again, I looked at the mailers, which are after the cap rate charts in my brief beginning on page 9 if you want up the figures. You'll see that I used model vacancy when looking at what sort of vacancy to use, as I have for all the other properties. Sometimes it's low, sometimes it's a bit lower, sometimes it's a bit higher. So we go to model. There's discounts as well applied to this property, so the net rent, 1634,409. We toss in parking and laundry, miscellaneous income. We got 1,736,126 on the property in terms of effective gross income. I apologize for the extra decimals that were included. Didn't shrink that field enough. So, this one, it's been a common theme of this hearing, is the repair and maintenance. Looks really high. The average, including suite R&M, building R&M, and labor R&M, and this is another instance where I was mistaken, and I did not separate out the garbage disposal. It was included in the building repairs and maintenance. That's something that should have been pulled out, and it had its own separate heading, so that would be, for 2017, that would be roughly an additional 15,500 on the expenses. Because I had included that in my 1,500 calculation, that would be an additional 15 grand that I would put in there under the expenses that should have been sorted that way. I didn't include any capital. On page 10, I put a big X as an example under the capital expense section. So I used 1,500 a unit on this one as well. 2346 is pretty high. It's multiple times higher than the properties in the Altus cap rate study. Typically, when we see north of 2,000, we start to get into capital expenditures. Now, I had some time to check this place action. I Googled it yesterday. There's actually a YouTube video on YouTube for this one. In the YouTube video, it said select suites. We're looking at current condition. So It says select suites have been renovated with hardwood flooring and kitchen appliances. So it looks like there's new counters as well. So when we look at my page 10, under capital expenses, where the big X is, that hasn't been included in the capital expenses. You'll notice that under, let's see if we got our pages a little different. Under repairs and maintenance, they spent $30,000 on flooring on page 9. For 2017, they spent $35,000 on carpentry. They also spent $48,000 on plumbing that year. If we go to my page, I did this on my page. If you go to my page, the 2016 income and expense statement, which occurs on my page 20. You'll see that under repairs and maintenance, again, they spent $44,000 on the suite repairs and maintenance for flooring that year, and another $40,000 on carpentry. Notably in plumbing, however, this year they only spent $2,000 in comparison to prior year when they spent $48,000. So there is some big swings in terms of what's being spent. Another, if you go to my page, sorry, I had this marked off on the balance paper, should have done on mine. If you go to page 25, you'll see that they spent another 46 on flooring. So it looks like like they're redoing all the floors in a short amount of time. A good deal of the floor in a short amount of time. Well, they're always spending a lot of money on it. Another 22 on plumbing, another 53 on carpentry. So given that I saw on a video that they were saying that they were refreshing select suites, it leads me to believe that looking at the capital expenditures, these items were not included. It looks like they aren't quite including everything that they should under that heading. So I used $1,500 a unit to get an estimation. Now, again, waste and snow should have been separated out, so those expenses should have been increased, and the NOI should go down to about $880. But at that rate, we're still very close to what the model is producing. So I didn't make any changes, running the scenario at 15 a unit on R&M. That's my investment.
So flooring, would you agree that the floors should be replaced every 8 to 10 years?
Yeah, as far as get worn out, they have to be done.
So it would be reasonable to replace 10% per year, let's say?
It could.
Would you agree that I found out that the cost to replace flooring for a suite is about $4,000 per suite? So at 10% per year would be $400 per suite per year as a normal?
Is there a quote on that?
No, it's not in this report. It's something I found out from other clients. They told me it's $4,000 per suite. So I'm saying, would you agree that $400 per suite for flooring is reasonable?
$400 a suite?
Yes, per suite per year.
So $400 on every suite every year?
No, it's on average. If you're replacing the flooring on 10% of your suite. that's
Oh,
a
okay, so if
landlord.
you're doing 10%, then you're spending 400, okay, I get what you're saying. I guess it depends on the quality of the flooring.
So your flooring cost that you had for those 3 years that you looked at was about 45,000 per year. And if you divide by 150 suites, I believe it comes to close to 300 per suite per year. So would you agree that their flooring is normal or below normal?
Looks like they're keeping up with the maintenance, for sure.
Okay, so
It's hard to tell when they, I saw a video where they were saying they were redoing the floors and renovating suites, so.
But you brought to the board's attention that 3 years are about 45,000 per year, so would you not agree that's a normal amount to spend for 150
Yeah,
suites?
like it's a big number, but there is 150 suites, so it could fall within the realm of possibility.
Okay, so you're page 5, the NOI that you have is 895,000, and you stated verbally you should have allowed for separate waste and snow 15,000, so would you agree that you are now adjusting your NOI to 880,000?
Yeah, definitely.
And at 880,000 divided by 5.2%, your revised value would be 16,604,000. Slightly higher than your model assessment.
Yeah, it comes down closer to what the model is, for sure. It reduces the calculation.
That's all questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gifford.
No questions.
No questions.
I have no questions on this, so please proceed.
Page 1, nice photo. Older building, built 1967. Shows a suite mix there, some bachelors, 85 one bedroom, so it's, suite mix is toward the 1 bedroom and 9, or the bachelors of the, page 2 is the aerial photo. So that would be what we call a mid-rise, that's 6 stories high. These are the same financial statements we had for another property today, so if you start page 11, these are the statements from Medicine Properties, and they do give a good breakdown of the repair minutes that they have. On page 12, it shows that we disallowed capital expense item, the 99,000. And the 2016, similar would be page 16, capital expense. We disallowed that. Page 15, 2015 is on page 70. 70? 20. We disallowed the capital expenditure item that they have there. 213,000. So we disallow that line that they have in their financial statements. So page 7 of our report. So our line 13, we're at 1740, and Matthew's revised is on page 5 is 1736, so we're pretty much in agreement there. We're actually a bit higher than the assessor. And I checked everything he's done on his page 5, and I agree with everything he's done, except that he should have the waste and snow separate. So therefore, I would agree with his 880,000 NOI, except for repair and maintenance. So that's our main difference. So line 27, we do show 5 years. And it shows that 291, 248, 385, 312, 313. So we stabilize, the 3-year average is 337. We stabilize at 291, which is the 5-year average, excluding the high year of 2015. the one that's 385,000. So we excluded that one higher. And it comes to 1943 per suite. Now, I would say that it is likely on the high side. If there could be such a thing as a high side, but it's site specific. A very large apartment block, you gotta spend the money that you need to get your rents. Line 3, you'll see that they are getting $935 per suite per month. And the majority of the suites are one bedroom, so they're getting quite high rents actually for an older property like that. One of the reasons they're getting these high rents is that it's a lot of money they're spending on repair maintenance. If you look at the rents line 1, you can see that it's been going up to $1,597,000 and it's now $1,865,000, so they're pushing the rents as much as possible. There is some vacancy feedback that you'll see in line 5 over the years. They're down to 2.2%, so they're spending money on the repair and maintenance, and they're pushing the rents as high as possible. So there we see that the rents are helped or got to that level because of the level of repair and maintenance. So I believe that we should be going with site-specific repair and maintenance. So our NOI, line 33 is $824,000, and the cap rate is 6%, which is one of our big differences we have. And that's my report.
Thank you. Mr. Brockes.
Any questions?
Ms. Gifford.
No questions.
Mr. Hardin.
No questions.
No questions. Okay. The next matter is 1335 Henderson Highway.
Okay.
Please proceed when you're ready.
1335 Henderson Highway, 0400470800. 13,862,000 on April 1st, 2018 valuation. Built in 1970, 133 suites, 88 indoor parking spots, 0 outdoor parking spots, construction class C, masonry bearing walls. Turn to page 2, you'll see the request for income information on this one. They've been good, handing in the mailers. Page 3, that's the model generated breakdown, 932 on the average rent. Model parameters, we use cap per age and area. Comes up with estimated market rounded value of 13,862. 101 bedroom suites, 32 bedroom suites. This one, location wise. Henderson Highway. Let's see where it is. Near Springfield, just south of Springfield. Rank comparables before. So, construction class C, masonry bearing walls, D, wood or steel stud frames. They have bachelor units. 1 and 4 are higher, mid and higher rise buildings. 2 and 3 are low rise buildings. 1 and 4, their average monthly rents are higher than the subject property is modeled at, and 1 and 4 are reporting higher than that. Similar in age. Page 5 shows income and expense analysis on this one. So I was trying to verify, again, this is an exercise trying to verify them all. So potential gross income, I used the most recent year, 2017. We've got 132821 on potential gross income. The model's giving it 148748, so the model's too high.
I would agree with your NOI.
Yep.
It's almost the same as mine.
Well, then, I guess we have a cap rate issue then. This property has low vacancy, less than 1% in the past 3 years. So I still stabilized it at model, but an investor would be able to look at it and see that it is performing well. It does have strong demand for it. So in terms of cap rate, I believe that's where we're at.
Thank you. Mr. Dupont.
No question.
Susan Gifford.
No questions?
Mr. Harden.
Just to be clear, are you making the recommendation of that 11,824 on page 5?
Yes, yes, I am, with the 5.3 cap.
Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Okay, thank you. I have no questions. Mr. Dupont.
If you look at the page 1, is the photo of the property, 1970 high rise. And the bedroom count is 101 bedroom, which is very high in relation to the total count, suite count. 11 stories. And the page 7, you'll see our NOI is, I believe, 1,000 lower than the assessor, 626, so which we accept as NOI. We have a cap rate difference, is the main difference. Now we deducted the 11,000 assessment for the property next door. I should show that to you. And the maps, page 3. You see the subject property on top, and you see in the blue, page 3 is that roll number, which is owned by the same owners. So it's not a big thing, but it's a normal thing to deduct all the land that is used for the apartment block. That assessment shown on page 11. $11,000. So for cap rate, the property built 1970, and it's an older property. And we have cap rate comparables and fully supported, and with income approach for each one done, and the cap rates indicated is in fact 6%, and I believe the assessor does not have the cap rate comparables that are fully supported. They have the burden of proof. We believe our cap rate should be the data that's being used by the board. Thank you.
Mr. Brockes.
Over a 3-year basis, this property's got a very low vacancy rate. In generating a cap rate or a suitability for investment, do you think that would play into the mind of a purchaser in terms of assigning a cap rate to this property?
They will look at it as one of the factors, but then they would use a long-term vacancy. And I believe all my cap rate comparables, all 9 of them, we use market vacancy So I don't use near 0% vacancy on my cap rates, nor do I do that same thing when we're doing a property in front of this board. We always go with market vacancy.
So just, yeah, just touching on the cap rates again. Two highest ones, there's 403 St. Anne's at 1,003 R&M per unit, and 3 Ward, 3 Ward, 1072 on the high end. Everything else is 750 a unit and less. 750 being lightened. Do you think those R&Ms per year on a per unit basis are sustainable?
You match the rents, and if you look at page 12, my cap rate story, 333 Ward. We use the average of 2011, 2015. So your one site specific, we show this property is being bought by somebody that has a certain amount of required maintenance. This is a newer building. And when we go in front of this board, we don't say, oh, it's averaging 1,000, it should be 1,500. We don't do stuff like that. So we go with site specific. So we've gone site specific. This is very well documented, and that's how we've done that.
Okay, so just one last question, sticking on 333 Ward. Just notice for the waste and snow, you've got 3 years. You've got 30,000, 19,000, and 10,000. Is waste and snow not something, a figure that's typically average given the variability of the amount of snowfall that's, snow that happens per year? Like the average being closer to, so it says 20,212. Would you revise that figure?
No, yes, the default is to use a 3-year average. Same thing as utilities, we use 2017, but when something's erratic, then we make the judgment away from the default. And this one, the 2013 is 3 times higher, which I don't believe would be normal. So we use the 2015 about 10,000 in this particular case.
Okay, those are my questions.
Ms. Gifford, no questions? Mr. Harden?
No questions.
And no questions? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.